Well, hello everyone, it's Kari. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be making a sort of spooky, but mostly magical Halloween card. I'm bringing in one of my favorite stencils for this time of year. This is the Halloween Mandala. And then I've got a bunch of stamp sets from the Magical collection. And I'm going to be bringing in a few elements from each of these. Except for that last one right there, I didn't end up using that for this card. But let's get started with inking on this mandala, Halloween mandala stencil. It is beautiful. I'm going to tape down my card panel and then I'll just hold down the stencil with a magnet, and I'm going to be using my hands to hold that down a little bit as well. You could use some repositionable adhesive spray on this if you wanted to. That would keep it in place really well. But today I am just doing it very quickly, holding it in this manner. I brought in some Lost Shadow for the center, and now I've got some purple shades, a lighter purple and then a darker purple with that Villainous Potion, and then I'll bring in some black around the edges. So these are going to radiate out, and that's one way that I really like to use this stencil, although I have used it in other ways as well. So just use your imagination with this, but look at the fun texture, the fun images that you get on this. There are some jack-o'-lanterns, some spider webs, some witches' brooms, some bats. You can see all of those things in this stencil. It's really, really fun one, a great design. So here's a little bit of black around the edges that I'm adding just for some dramatic flair. You know I love my drama. At least on my cards I do, not in real life. And there we go. There's the whole thing. It was very quick to ink that on, and now we've got a great background for our card. Now this background can be oriented in any way, so I'm going to be using it in a landscape way. And then I've colored up a lot of those images. You can see the owl here. I've got one of these characters from the Potions class stamp set. And then the girl that is the cat here, that's from Witch's Brew. And of course I had to bring in another boy character here. Now I've inked on some black to a little strip of gray. And that's going to be to kind of ground these characters and set them apart from that background mandala. But I decided it was a little too thick, so I'm going to cut it down to 2 inches. And then I'm going to save that other strip for later and finish inking around the edges again. So this is going to be our way to ground these characters. There we go. We're going to set it up something similar to this here. And then I'm going to choose a sentiment for this. There are a lot of great sentiments in this Halloween Sentiments stamp set. And it's my favorite Halloween Sentiments set ever. I pull this out every single year. There are larger sentiments. There are smaller sentiments. You could use a sentiment from one of these magical stamp sets, but I think today I'm going to pull out this sentiment here that says, let's spook up some fun. And I think that'll be perfect for these characters. So I'm going to stamp that on this extra piece of cardstock that I cut off of that center panel. And I'm just going to stamp it in black, nice and simply, just like that. And then we'll cut this down to fit onto our card panel. I'll just use my scissors to trim it down, nice and simple. And then I'm going to build it up with the rest of that panel. So I'll build it up a couple of times. That'll give it just a little bit of dimension. And I'll go ahead and glue those together. We're using some liquid adhesive. It's just a small amount of dimension, but a little popped up, and so that's going to work out great for this card. So I'll go ahead and glue that down right about there, and then let's start putting together this card as well. So you can see that this is a very easy card to put together. The longest part was the coloring on these, and I used some light shades of purple and some black and gray to color them up to make everything really cohesive and look like it all belongs together. So I love that. I'm going to glue the characters down to the panel first, and then I'll glue the entire panel down to the card. But I do love using a lot of the characters and mixing and matching from that magical collection to build a whole extra scene. So this is kind of fun. Let's spook up some fun. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down now. And when I glue this down, I wish I would have moved it a little, just a touch down, but I put it pretty close to in the center. But if I moved it just a touch down, that owl would have fit just a tiny bit better. It's a little bit too late to move that down, so we're going to have to just go with it. That's okay too. So I'm going to go ahead and add some foam tape to the owl to pop him up. He will be the most dimensional on this card. And then we'll pop him up just over the shoulder of the character on the right. So popping up just the wings with the foam dimension and then adding some glue to the back so the feet will be glued straight down and the wings will pop up for some extra dimension. So I'm going to put him right about there. Looks like he's taking off from his arm almost, which I kind of like that look. And then we'll add the whole thing to our card base. Look at that card. That's going to finish off this card. Let me do a little cleanup and I'll show you the close-up of this card. But look at those characters together. I really think it is fun, especially with that sentiment from the Halloween sentiment stamp set. These mix and match so well together. I hope you enjoyed this video. I loved making it. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel and come back again and again. I will be back with more card inspiration real soon. Until then, happy crafting. Bye-bye.